All right, here we go. It's Hambbage, and I'm so glad you tuned in. We got ourselves another episode of Hardcore Vanilla Minecraft starting right now. And just like maple syrup, it is 100% pure. I guess not all maple syrup is, but you know, the good stuff. Boom, boom, boom. So, another day for me. You guys may be watching these videos in sequence. If you are, congratulations. I think that's a great way to do it. Just make sure you are getting those little pauses in between every few of them to get up, move around, all that good stuff. We talk about that at the end of the episodes all the time. For the moment, I just want to say thanks so much for joining us back here. I hope you've been enjoying some of the videos along the way. For anyone who's new, and I know there's certainly new folks coming in all the time, I want to first say thanks for stopping by. You are so welcome to be here. And second, we're sorry about that interruption, guys. I I just rebooted so that we would have a nice, fresh, clean system, no resource issues or anything like that. I'd just been watching some videos. I think a while back had watched a live stream all with my browser open, and just want to make sure we got a clean, fresh start, you know. So to that end, I rebooted, and without knowing it, apparently that bloatware style antivirus stuff decided that it wanted to run a check to tell me that I didn't have the bloatware installed. Shocking, right? Anyway, this is not tall enough yet. Hopefully that's the last of that stuff running. So for those of you guys who missed 3 episodes ago or so, there was a disaster trying to get through here. We are trying to multitask some of these runs, and I guess I should back up just a bit and say we are playing in the new version of Minecraft 1.17.1, and doing that, we have traveled a good long way to get some fresh chunks. We want to have new content in our world, and because we'd already been playing, I think our world age is around 1,000 in-game days. As you see, this is episode, like 142? Some of those at the beginning were 2 hours average, and along the way we switched it and went to more of an hour per episode as a more digestible amount of content. So, take that what it's worth. I don't think we're at, approaching 300 hours of gameplay, but somewhere probably above 200, I would guess. With all even when I try to record hour-long episodes, I'm still not real good at it. Usually my instinct is getting there. I check the time and I'm like, oh, we're right there. And then I go on and talk and wrap things up for another 5-10 minutes. So take that as what it will. But yeah, we've had a pretty good run in this world, and we've done a lot of building, a lot of developing. Maybe at episode 150 we'll kind of focus on a tour and show off some of the things that we've done again for those who may be new to the content. But yeah, at the moment we are most concerned with fighting a wither. That's our stated goal. If you've seen any of the videos, the most recent talked about the fact that we're pushing on through, and the wither is one of the remaining bosses that we have yet to fight in this world. So we've got a couple advancements associated with that, and I'd kind of long been putting it off, not because I was opposed to the fight itself, but just to kind of spread out the content a little bit. And coming back from 117, we had a lot of housekeeping stuff to do, and I had kind of used that as an opportunity to... He's just gonna waddle his way on down. Now, I don't know what they do about lava falls. I mean, obviously they can stand in the lava, but I don't know if they'll go for the shower, per se. So I know out on our other track, we've preserved a lava fall, and I don't think I'm going to do that here. For one thing, it's just coming right out, so it's not like it's going to be falling to it. We're not like we're on the edge of a little opening here. So even if we had an observation, it's going to be ending right there. And also, it's just kind of whatever. I wouldn't be able to get it to spill over both sides. It would just kind of be a oh yeah, see what we worked to do there. So we'll call it good. Here, I think, in the interest of time, let's just take another strip here. Again, I don't want to... The couple videos ago when we were going back to the base, it got much more prolonged than I'd ever hoped. Well, this is interesting. You know, I didn't do that. Alright. Let's go here first. There. And any old time now. There you go. Alright, since we're in the midst of all this mess, let's just go ahead and carve out where the gravel's going to be. So at least we don't have a tool or suffocation issue in future episodes. Alright, and then... back on it. I just want to make sure we're keeping the right center line. That's about the only way you can mess this up, is to get off kilter at some point along a long run like this, and then be... Ah! Good news is we reached the end. The bad news is it made me goof up. Okay. All right, now... do I want to deal with all this? This is where the disaster begins, right? And those of you who have been watching or playing know, yeah, the disaster is just the lava slimes. There are so many of them, and we haven't even... we're still really in the old terrain at the moment, but we will switch over and we'll start to get the big lava slimes dropping off the... basalt ceilings and all the rest. So anytime you can get a little more width, because you guys have seen it. We're not particularly vulnerable to dying unless you get a couple big ones at the same time. You know, you're like backing up from one to hit it, and then another one drops on your head. That can get dangerous pretty quick because they can hit you quickly. Just once they sit, when they're no longer bouncing, their attacks come pretty fast. So you can lose a lot of health very quickly, but that's not the biggest problem when we're trying to make these runs. The bigger problem by far is that they knock you into the lava when you're crossing, and that, wow, my voice is all over the place. I haven't done much talking today. It's been another nice cool day, but I do suspect that there is something in the air getting my allergies just crazy. And again, I think this week, I haven't looked again, since like early yesterday or even the day before maybe, but I think the forecast is supposed to be that we go into the slow cooker, if you will, except it's not too slow. It's high temp. But you know, here we don't get it quite as bad as a lot of other places. I think we're supposed to be in the upper 90s for as many days in a row as I had seen the forecast reaching out the last time I looked. And when it's kind of that weather, I don't bother with the forecast a whole lot. You know, it's not like winter when you have to worry that a storm is going to come along and shut down roads or get you stranded or anything like that. You know, here certainly there's the same. Well, there's a risk of severe storms. Out in Colorado, we get much more lightning and hail and straight line wind damage. Although I did hear that there was a tornado that made news when I was on my trip and coming back out here, and I heard it. I think I was talking to my parents on the, just kind of on the road. Hey, just checking in. Everything's going good. You guys get home safely? That kind of check-in conversation. They were like, yeah, we were just watching the news, and they said there's tornadoes in Colorado. And I was like, what? We get a lot of tornadoes, but for anybody in the Midwest United States, they're typically not the town wrecker. And I say typically, they're tornadoes. They can be totally unpredictable. Anybody who's grown up getting used to dealing with tornadoes understands that no matter, time of day, season, landscape, any of that kind of stuff, whenever you try to make a rule around tornadoes, they're going to do something to disprove it and show you that that's completely not right. So out here, I live, as I've told people, I kind of live between the towns of Denver and Boulder, the cities of Denver and Boulder, and I live along the edge of the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And that, for people that know the area, there's a half dozen or so suburbs, and there's not a huge secret, but I'm not just going to advertise exactly where I live. But I live fairly close, within a few miles as the crow flies from the mountains, and typically tornadoes need a little bit more space to get formed. The storms need a chance to come down off that high altitude, gain energy from the heat on the plains, and then start cycling, which is how funnel clouds and then tornadoes get made. So it's kind of like the birds and the bees talk, right? Well, first you have a column of air, and it begins to rotate, and then once it's rotating enough, it will begin to tilt, and when it tilts towards the ground, you have a funnel cloud that can extend, and when it makes contact with the ground, it becomes a tornado. Blah, 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 blah. Again, when you grow up in an area with tornadoes, the science of them is taught in schools. For one thing, you have tornado drills. So, the old videos and movies and stuff of kids in the 50s having duck and cover drills, I think Midwest kids can certainly relate to those because we continue through the present day to have drills for covering from tornadoes. I know there's also now things like active shooter drills and all that kind of stuff too. It's a sad commentary on some of the things that are going on in the world. But this is the center line deal. Which side? No, let's just go. We've made a good bit of progress here. Last time when we got about to this middle point, we started getting real confused, and I don't want to waste a bunch of time. It took us a half hour to get home. That's half an episode or over it. So this time we'll just try to complete our run. And again, I think we're in the middle still, but I don't want to drop a whole lot of blocks and then just find we're wasting resources. Ooh, hey, look, some basalt. Okay, so now that we know kind of where we're at, we can go about expanding again. I think we do have a few little openings when we get back over on the other side, right? So yeah, tornadoes in Colorado. Like I said, we had one, and as I was having that conversation, I said, "Oh, it's surprising that that's like a national news deal because usually they're quite small and localized. They're not the take out a block or a street or a whole a whole part of a town, or in some really bad cases, an entire town. But out here, and with the notable exception that, again, there was one in Greeley, Colorado, about, I don't think it was a full 10 years ago, but they definitely had one that went right through the middle of town. I don't want to start comparing storms versus storms or anything. That seems kind of whoa. We don't need to waste that much. It seems kind of in poor taste, but that was notable because it was such an exception. Now we have lots of fires and things like that. We have plenty of weather-based, and I think fires kind of fall into that category because the conditions are so impacted by the weather that every place, life is life, right? No matter where you are, you're gonna have some things. In tropical islands, you don't have to worry a whole lot about fire or wintry weather or anything like that, but you may have to worry about tsunamis and earthquakes and potentially volcanoes, depending on the kinds of islands, right? So there are wrinkles for anywhere you live. There's no true paradise. We all have realities we have to deal with and prepare for. So no different here, but yeah, tornadoes don't typically become one of them. And it said, usually ours are more like water spouts, which for folks that live, on water, and I don't know if they happen all over the place. I kind of think of them in terms of like the Gulf of Mexico and some of those kind of places where you may not be full oceanic currents and stuff, but but they still come, and they're typically, they have the same funnel twisting shape as a tornado would, but they can't generate the destructive force because they're water based. So the water is constantly sapping the strength of the atmosphere that's being transferred into the storm. And so out here, when we have spout-like tornadoes, as I call them, it just, they're not going to turn into the monsters that I was used to as a kid. And sure enough, when I heard a broadcast, they were saying, yeah, it was I think they called it a ground spout tornado. And just like that they actually form a little differently than classic funnel cloud tornadoes. The tornadoes, as I said, have a rolling layer in the atmosphere that begins to rotate horizontally. If you think of it like a layer of cloud out there in the sky, it begins to rotate, and then as it does, one or the other of those ends pulls towards the ground, and that's what, if it has enough energy and power, becomes the tornado, right? So kind of a deal. Oh, those gold on the other end. I thought those were both. I have to be careful. I was about to dump that string, but we're actually bringing this. Are you kidding me? Just no. Did I? That's those. Okay, there. I guess here we go again, right? So yeah, this one had been a ground spout tornado, and it had, they said it damaged like 8 structures, destroying 2. And when I heard, and this was like the day after radio, as I was driving into town, I just heard a news blurb, and it said, damage estimates were at $500,000, which, when you think about 8 structures, and usually structure can be a wide range. That can go from a shed to a barn, but typically outbuildings. And they said no, I think there were 2 calves that were unfortunately killed by it. But in terms of a storm, that's pretty good too. Typically wildlife does pretty well, but that kind of reinforces circle of life stuff. All the way back to pre-human days, when there were species out there, think bison and some of those kind of things. Some of the megafauna were still around at that time, but the plains species were already resident and intact. So you had deer, you had pronghorn and bison and some of those kind of things. And in the spring, when calves are being born, they're at their most vulnerable, and the adults will do their best to protect them from predators and those kind of things. That's the whole idea of circling the wagons. That all came out of a large herd mentality, where the adults will concentrate their energy if being stalked by, let's say a wolf, right? And the wolf is coming, and it's got the scent of the young or the old, or whatever of that herd. The adults will, who are best able to fight off those predators, will run in a tight circle around the young, and the old kind of get moved to the middle, and the strongest of that herd will then do their best to drive off, or at least prevent the predators from getting inside that circle. So they don't have that option when it's weather or fire or anything else. And for for instinctive reasons, there's just some things that if you're an animal, you just have to run from. So in this case, it would have sounded like, it was on the... Where did you guys come from? You didn't come out of the structure. You decided to come from the other side. That's great. Very nice of you. Ooh. What can I trade for you? We're going to use up some of the sand. Cracked polished. So yeah, it was too bad to hear that a couple calves did lose their lives, but that's not all that uncommon. Ranching communities and things know that right at calving season, those animals are at risk, and just naturally, whether it's disease or predation or anything else, they understand that if there's going to be loss, it's going to happen at that time. It's kind of the opposite with farmers. They understand that if there's going to be loss, it's usually right around harvest when, take wheat, right? So you got a bunch of wheat. It kind of looks like grass with the seedy heads on it. And that becomes most vulnerable. I mean, yeah, when it's new green shoots, it's pretty vulnerable too, but for most of its growing period, it can get blown around, it can get rained on, all that stuff is fine. But when it's about to be harvest, when those seed heads are all ripening and mature, if a storm comes through then, you can lose the whole thing. So that's kind of the opposite of the ranching, when if a hailstorm or just a bad wind as a tornado or anything like that, even flooding to the point that the land just bogs down and becomes a morass. If the young animals are struggling even to move and can't navigate around their parents, either to get to higher ground or to feed and stay in contact with their parents, they may lose that way. So but if you count the insurance value, and I don't know what that would be of a young calf, I'm sure that herds are insured to some extent. Maybe I don't know. I'm not a rancher, but I would assume that's estimated damage, and I can't tell if that's pig land. I think that's just a pig man. I'm glad I didn't shoot him in the back. I would think you roll those in. That's at least probably a few $1,000s. And then you have structures, some of which were probably barns or garages, the kind of U.S. steel shed buildings, that kind of stuff that are out in ranch land now fairly commonly. Maybe a pump house or something like that. But those can add up pretty quickly when you've got 8 of them. That's and you're talking a half $500,000. That's not quite $100,000 per structure. And if a couple of them were over that, then the others could have been pretty small and minor. But unfortunately, nobody got injured in it. But it does remind that you got to be fairly heads up about the weather, no matter where you are. And as longtime residents know, the odds of getting any of those even small tornadoes goes up dramatically when you cross I-25, which is the major north-south. Or the kind of main north-south highway. This is... get all of them, most of them, enough of them. Yeah. So you kind of understand where those threats begin and end. But on the other side, you get much higher straight line winds coming off the foothills. So you may not get tornadoes, but a couple times a year you may have to build and expect for straight line winds of 80 and 90 miles an hour, and just understand that's a part of being in that particular area. So there's there's always something. But yeah, I kind of kept going there. The thought reminded me of the drills and the old duck and cover videos back when the Cold War was at its height. And fortunately, nobody, it never became a reality. But the idea that the United States and Soviet Union might actually have a nuclear engagement was a real concern for parents and obviously teachers and everybody else. That was a real deal scary. So man, this is a long way. So having those drills, while they may not have done much in a truly devastating attack on a city, there was some peace of mind there. Same thing kind of goes for the school tornado drills. And as I recall from elementary school, the main concern was that students in classrooms with a bunch of windows and things are much more exposed to flying glass and debris, or just structural failure if a tornado hits into one side of a building. Even if it's and typically schools are going to be brick, stone, and maybe not stone, but brick, cinder block, that kind of construction. So they're fairly sturdy structures. But if they get hit by a full-blown tornado, they may still have a wall fail. And the idea being that if your classrooms are all on the exterior, but then you have a hallway between two sides of classrooms, the walls of that hallway, which would also be cinder block or brick or whatever, those will be less exposed and have more rigidity. So you move the kids to the hallways, and then we had the same duck and cover. And that's because covering your brain and your neck as much as possible, and putting your head down between your knees so that flying glass, splinters, and that kind of stuff don't get your eyes, and that your spinal column is at least partially protected by your fingers. That's about the most you can do to self-preserve in an environment that could be full of flying glass and splinters and all the rest of it. So yeah, they were always scary as a kid. And you'd kind of you'd look, because I don't know how they, school design. A lot of school buildings are still just the same old ones, but they may have updated them some. And certainly with, after Columbine and all the Sandy Point, is that it? All the tragic school shootings and things that have happened over the years. I think a lot of that has now changed, but at least in my young school days, I can't remember how the high school and stuff are set up, but hey, we're here. Going through all those experiences, it was kind of weird, because there'd be heavy steel doors at the ends of the hallways, but then they'd have big glass windows around them, and it was sectioned, right? So there'd be the main exit doors, and then you'd have an internal set of doors where they'd have a little buffer space, and they could probably lock both of them, but it's mainly for winter and temperature control, whether it's hot or cold. But as I said, a lot of those schools when I was little, they didn't even have air conditioning. It was that was You didn't have school in the summer, so you didn't need AC. Yeah, it might get a little warm for a couple days in the spring and maybe a little in the fall, but it wasn't enough to get worried about. I'm just going to dump all this stuff that's not a part of what we want to build here. Okay, so yeah, we're all glad that no tornadoes hit, and tornado drills are important but scary as part of a lot of parts of life are. And that's the end of story time. So what are we trying to do here? We want to construct a little. This is the problem. We're kind of right in the middle of this. We want to construct a little insulated area where if our wither friends decide to go off in a unexpected direction or unpredictably decide to target everything but us, 36, we're not going to see a lot of our gear get wrecked, even if we have to bug out, kind of deal. That's what we're going for here. So even back this way, and I just kind of hope we don't bump back into um, the mine shaft. Where are we at now? 30. I'd like to be 5 to 10 levels below. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boop. Oh, oh man. Wow. Watch the great Minecraft player. Alright, well, here we go. So we'll just run this staircase down. And so far, so good. Alright, now we'll give ourselves one little transition block. We don't want any of this to be oversized. This is not where we're going for spacious. In the chamber itself, yes. That's... Hey, we got stuff. That's a part that we certainly can. I think maybe it's off that way. Lava also. Oh, darn it. Oh, darn it. I'm going to take out my frustration on you, pal. Well, we got a new deal. Now, which way does this all go? Okay, that's not too far back. So let's go... here, maybe. Ah! Why to not try to do this without torches? And let's just stop the silliness. So this was a part of why I wanted to come back out here. We can get some more copper. very far. Don't like the sound of zombies because I would just prefer to have it solid, right? Because if he should come back, he's going to start blowing up this path to get through. You know, bigger than a 1x2 anyway. And if he then exposes another avenue, and that hits a cave, he may just then go off and start going after zombies and skeletons and all that, which is, again, it's kind of one of those worst case, and it would be kind of entertaining, but you know, you don't want him getting all the way free and then ultimately causing a bunch of trouble. And the worst part is this is where I thought the sounds were coming from. What? I tell you. So maybe we should have tried to go away from the base and made a new area. We may have to if this is just too torn up. Now we're into deep slate. How's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh, hey. And these are the kind of things I talked about in the previous episode, maybe? One of the previous ones that I recorded yesterday, where you worry a little bit about the creation of new features filling in the available space in the world where things get more concentrated. And that's kind of one of the things where I enjoy being able to make big spaces of my own. Yeah, I know, if you're going to hollow out a chunk all the way down to bedrock, you're going to run into some caves and things. You got to deal with that. But it is nice to have a space where you can just let's use this iron as a marker. Of course. How are we doing on time? 45. All right, torches. Shovel. Okay, let's call that aside. I think that was 4 by 5. There's one. Hey, it all lined up. Good job. So this will get a lot easier once we have a beacon, these types of projects, right? But for now, we just kind of have to chop away. And I kind of think if we can excavate everything in this episode, that should work out a bit right. Because then we can put down the obsidian, um, do whatever chickening we need to do. You know, the wither fight, no matter how great it is, it's not going to last. Um, One way or another, it's going to be over. Hopefully the right way, but and let's do another one for randoms. Nothing else random is full. Okay, great. Um, yeah, we won't fill a whole hour unless we just want to run around yelling that we beat a wither. We can do some of that in the next episode. So hopefully this digging won't take us too long. I think we'll just go up to the height we can reach to about this long. Um, and hope everything works out right. Also hope that that nothing above us opens up into a big old thing. Although it got nice and quiet down here, so this feels like it's gonna be a good space. And that was kind of my fault for just expecting that sitting in the middle of a mine we could just go down and not encounter any obstacles. But I think we got far enough out of the way, and that may be the way the developers counterbalance. I don't know. I've certainly explored a bunch of abandoned mine shafts over the course of my playing Minecraft, and very often they will connect into big caves. But how often those caves just run off like a corner as um, opposed to something more? I'm not sure. But we've got a space here. I think we're gonna go up the full 6 high. I guess we can get one more. Because he's gonna try to fly, and we can use that to kind of get him with our bow for a bit first. Until he loses that flight ability. And then we'll go whack him with our sword. And that should really start to take him down pretty quick. Having the smite with the flames and everything else, that's the way to take him on effectively. I don't know if you guys are picking that up. I don't know what's going on with the water. If that's my neighbor or what, but it's like, oh, it's very loud. Um, Sorry, I had to reset my wrist on the mouse and the mouse pad and all this looking up and mining. Which begs the question, maybe this is just boomer, but I always feel when you're in Minecraft and you're playing like this, you're really, there's nothing different than when you're just working your way down a 2x2 little tunnel in like a branch mine, but it always makes me like just tense up my shoulders as I'm looking up, like I'm really looking up, even though I'm not holding my body any differently than I normally would have. All right, should have a bunch more stone. Got some granite in a big block. Okay. Yeah, I may be underestimating my time, but we'll still probably try to push through in this episode and just let the episode run long and get it done rather than splitting it up, and pushing this out. I talked about how I wanted to get to this wither fight, kind of put that in both to my commentary in the previous videos and to the tweet and everything that went with them. So I don't want to let this get too delayed. Just a couple hundred blocks. We'll be good. So in the comments, anybody lingering along here, have you fought the Wither? If you have, what are your memories of it? What was your first time Wither fight like? What was the best and the worst, right? I mean, the bests are kind of nice, but they aren't sometimes quite as memorable as the worsts when something just goes a little bit off and you're in trouble before you know it. I think one thing here is having the totem is a bit of a difference, and I played it both ways. I mean, usually nowadays I do try to hold out, and if you're gonna do a raid and you have a bunch of golems and you kind of preset a town or village so that it is favorable. Maybe you have a central hill. You can see everybody coming, whichever direction the wave is coming from. Not a lot of hiding places for them, but maybe channeling the approaches so that they have to go certain ways, and you can kind of weaken them with a bow before they ever get really in range of you. All kinds of techniques for setting up raids so that you don't have to be too far along content-wise to handle those and get some totems. So usually by the time I've gone through wither skull hunting, I've already reached that point, and so it's pretty uncommon to do it without a totem, but it's been done. And yeah, that was those are some scary fights. I would not advise doing a wither fight without either a notch or enchanted golden apple or a totem. In hardcore. If you're just in survival mode, whatever, go have fun. It's all good. Um, but if you've got a world and you put time into it and are feeling like it's a good one, a keeper, then have one or the other, or as we're gonna do, both, just to be extra safe. Oh, come on. We're not gonna break a pick on this one. Just gonna try not to. Although they do wear, because the blocks all take a little bit longer than like the ice harvesting where we lost one in the past. It's a little easier to keep track of the progress. All right, getting there. This whole episode, though, I've been very lost as to the time. I did not. I kind of been working on other stuff, like I said, and just um, had the window, sat down, rebooted the laptop, and it just totally distracted me from any, like, hey, what time is it? Am I near the top of an hour? Am I not? What's the circumstances that I'm recording under here today? I know it's late afternoon, about the same as yesterday, maybe a little bit earlier, um, but kind of one of those. If I go 3 episodes, it's going to be well into evening, um, and I don't know. I guess it depends how long this one takes, and then how long it takes us to get to that fight. But um, I'd prefer not necessarily to do that again tonight. The three episodes, or even the 3 episode length. I mean, whether we call it 2 or 3, getting up to that kind of length is more content than I want on a given day, and more than I want to spend recording, really, on a weekend when it's nice and it's supposed to be getting hot out. So, if I can get some evening hours outdoors, I would love that tonight. But I am firmly committed. We're gonna go do this fight before I finish recording the next episode. So that's what we're gonna do. Stone, not stone, stone. And as I granite, anything else full? A lot of blocks. At least we'll have a good supply of stone over here if we want to leave it, or we can just bring it back to the base. All right, what we got? 4. Good. Double speed. Oh, you guys starting to feel it? I'm kind of rolling the neck a little bit, getting loose, bouncing in my chair like a fighter walking down the aisle to a ring. Just getting pumped up. We're gonna smack this wither in the face and take care of it before it takes care of us. Otherwise, I just hand the world over to him. I was like, okay, well, I guess we're done with it. You have fun now. Yeah, you guys think I got it? It's been a long time since we've done a lot of combat. I mean, we took down some glow squid the other day. We've certainly fought in the abandoned mine here, but um, not with a whole lot of threat. I'd say the rust factor is pretty real. Do we think we've got it? This is gonna be your chance. There won't be a ton of window there, but you can feel free to leave a content on the honor system. You know, if you're watching in order and you're seeing this one and anticipating that the next video will have the Wither fight, what do you think? You think I got it? You think it's got me? Who's gonna be the victor in this fight? For anybody that didn't see our previous episode, I guess pre-fight episode, but so is this one. Our preparations for the fight. I will have potions, one enchanted golden apple, which we just talked about. Is this worth it? I think it is. Our bow, our smite sword, our full armor, and we'll do our best to preoccupy so that we can get a good stock of roses. We need one at least to hang on to for how did we get here. Otherwise, I think they can stupidly be used for dye, I think. And I guess once you get them, pretty sure some folks have used them for traps or, mob factories of some kind. Although I'm not going to claim to know exactly what the methodology is there. And I don't know if we want to just completely... I guess I could have gotten all that coal, but we're trying to wrap up here, people. Maybe we'll leave and... because we're going to want to swap out our obsidian for a lot of this stuff. I mean, we'll just gather, leave the holes. I can deal with that next time. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, yeah, it's gravel, just not stone. There. Okay, these two are going to come up. Where did we... You know what the big question is going to be now, chat. What do we do with it? We're going to want that for sure. Oh, well. We're close now. Let's let that close. Oh, man. I don't want is a bunch of just random trash. I guess stone isn't the worst thing in the world. All right, let's leave that. We'll need it. When we come back, we'll try to find out where I put all the obsidian. We'll veneer this area, probably leaving the ceiling and back wall, the ceiling and this wall light colored so that they can be more visible, or it can be more visible against them. And then obsidian here, the floor, and our hallway so that he's got to go slowly if he does want to come back to get us. So that's what's up next, and that shouldn't take us any more time than all this did, and then we'll have plenty of time to set up and smack him. So that's the plan, the big goal. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Again, a little bit more of the work that has to get done for the fun when you're playing in hardcore. You can't just do all these things. You gotta go get the resources, and then you gotta put the resources in. There's no cheat commands or anything like that. But for those of us who love the hardcore game, it's good. Look, Mom, I'm in a splash. Okay, good. Good for you. So, hey, not even too over long. That's awesome. I want to take this opportunity, as I always do, to thank you guys. If you haven't hit the follow button in YouTube, why not? Or the follow button in YouTube. The subscribe button in YouTube, why not? You want to get the updates. You want to know. We've got a Wither fight coming, and you're going to want to know the moment it or any other future content comes online. So definitely do that. Also to keep track, I think at some point here we're going to try to get back into to some Dreadmore. And sometime, maybe next week, I don't know. Depends on what I got going on with the PC. We may have some streams to announce and get visible. So definitely get that subscribe going. Please, I always appreciate your comments. Again, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Wither fight? Do I have them, or am I in trouble? And I'm so dead I don't even know it yet. And what are your memories of fighting the Wither in the past? You can do that on the next video too. We'll leave those topics open, but I do really appreciate your views, your likes, and your comments. So keep them coming, and we'll see you back here for the next one. Until then, definitely take a break. I'm going to right now, quick one. I want to get right back into it, and then take the evening off. So this one will be pretty quick, but I'll be right back with you guys. We'll get a second video up. See, this is how we always go from like close to an hour to super long. We're going back in because I totally forgot. Just want to, we go right here. Zoop. Oh, this may not. There we go. I'll tease y'all with a thumbnail that advertises what's to come. All right, now back to normal mode. Save and quit. Yeah, you guys got to do a better job. You got to remind me when I need thumbnails for screenshots. And I know editing, that totally hasn't happened yet. I still have not looked at all into editing software. It was interesting. I've talked a lot about DJMC and some of his great content. And somebody in one of his comment sections had said, "Hey, do you got any tips for people setting up their own Minecraft videos?" And he's like, short clips, edit quick, not lots of runtime. Adjust your light levels, bright color graphics, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, yep, I don't. I know, I appreciate it, but this is the Let's Play variety. And I know that, there's some people that enjoy that. I know I certainly do. Maybe I'm just crazy, but I see a lot of folks that do go out of their way to seek out the Minecraft players that enjoy working through a whole world and not hiding a bunch of that behind cuts and edits. And yeah, you can cut and be like, hey, I'm gonna dig these 10 10,000 pieces of sand, but that's the time we get to know each other. So drop in some comments. Let me know what you guys want me to talk about while we're in those kinds of worlds, and we'll go. And now we got a water bottle splash. I think the splash was better. Thanks again. You guys already heard it once. Take care of yourselves. Take care of others. Stay awesome, and we'll see you back here next time.